If you're trying to keep up with NFL free agency, good luck. But I'm here to help you understand why there's so much funny money being thrown around in the NFL and why there's so many contract numbers that are being reported as being factual that are anything but. The only money that really matters is the guaranteed money. And if you really take a look at that money is horrible for certain players. Exhibit A. Darnell Mooney is making more guaranteed money than Saquon Barkley. Make that make sense. I'm not lying to you. Let's go ahead and find that Saquon contract, 3 years, 37.75, so $37.75 million. And if you want to get down to Darnell Mooney, he's all the way down here. 3 years, $39 million. Now, the 3 years and $39 million, we could do that math, right? We could divide that. It's $13 million a year. The problem is that it is not $13 million a year because Darnell Mooney is not going to get $39 million out of this contract. That is just the evaluated, estimated value of the contract. That is not the guaranteed money. And I want that to become a thing that when you see these headlines about, oh, $39 million for Darnell Mooney, it is not that. The guaranteed money is the real money. Everything else is a crapshoot. And also don't forget that a lot of these teams have things written into these contracts where they can get out of the contract before the full duration of the contract. So while this is a 3-year contract, and we'll look this up in a second, but it's likely that this contract, the Falcons will be able to get out of this contract after a year or two. There's a real small chance that Darnell Mooney plays all 3 years for the Atlanta Falcons. And that's probably best for both sides, right? But let's go ahead and tap into the contracts because the guaranteed money is the real number here. So let's go ahead and get into running backs. So running backs, we have Saquon right here, right? 3 years, 37. Let's see, can we get the full? Okay. So you see the guarantee that's signing, $26 million. So really, it's not 3 years, 37.75. It's really 3 years, $26 million. Okay. So now let's do that math. That's a little over 8 million or just under $9 million for someone who on the franchise tag was making a good deal more than that over the last year. So it gets even worse if we go into the actual contract details and see when can the Eagles get out of this contract. Okay, so you see potential out 2026. So essentially, this is a 2-year, $26 million deal. So forget that third year, essentially, when we're looking at this contract. Everything is about when can a team get out of the contract. And right now, the Eagles can get out of this contract in 2026. So this essentially is a 2-year, $26 million deal. Now, we could do that math, right? That's $13 million. So now, whereas you say 3 for 37, we could do the math there. But then when you realize it's really only 26 guaranteed, so you do 3 for 36, it's not even that. It's 2 years, 26 million, which is 13 million a year, which is aligned with where top running backs are usually paid. But the problem is that it's only a 2-year deal, not a lot of security, but you do get a lot of money up front over the next 2 years. Let's see what the Darnell Mooney contract is looking like in comparison to Saquon. Let's go ahead and find him. Let's see where they have him. Okay, number 22. So total value, he is right behind in total value for this contract at 3 years and $39 million. He's not that far. He's only $2 million behind Mike Evans. This is how the money is skewed in the NFL, where Darnell Mooney is only $2 million behind someone the like of Mike Evans, who's a future Hall of Famer. And Darnell Mooney, I'm not mad at any brother getting paid, but let's be real. Darnell Mooney is nowhere near in the caliber of Mike Evans. And he should be nowhere near financially in the same tax bracket as a Mike Evans. But be that as it may, Darnell Mooney gets a 3-year, $39 million deal. But what are the real numbers? Okay. $26 million guaranteed, $15 million signing bonus, all that stuff is cute. But the main thing is, when can the Falcons get out of this deal? I mentioned it's likely he's not going to be there for the full duration of the contract, 3 years, right? Well, we see it right here. Potential out 2026, the same like Saquon. 2 years, 27. So just slightly more money than Saquon. So even in the guaranteed money, even when they can get out of it mutually, or more likely the team will, the Falcons will get out of it, they still would end up paying Darnell Mooney more money than the Eagles will pay Saquon Barkley. And that is the scope of what we're dealing with here, because the game is flipped upside down if you're a running back. It wasn't that long ago where you had to have a running back first and then a quarterback and then a receiver. It's been flipped upside down now, where everything begins and ends at the quarterback. And because everything begins and ends at the quarterback, you got to have a receiver. And then a distant, way distant third are now running backs. And you can argue that they're not even third, because then you're talking about offensive lines, tight ends, a second wide receiver, and then maybe a premier running back. Exhibit A of this whole thing being turned right upside down is the money being given out to quarterbacks. And with this past offseason, you have to look no further than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins gets yet another bag. Not fully guaranteed like he has been throughout the entirety of his career, but still a tremendous amount of money that is guaranteed. He gets 4 years, $180 million. But again, we now know, or at least I am trying to help y'all know, throw that number out. It's never about that number. It's about the total guaranteed number. And then when can a team get out from under that contract, and what's the money at that point in time? Okay. So when you sign, that signing is $100 million guaranteed, 90 guaranteed at signing, but in totality, $100 million hard stop. If he doesn't hit any incentives, any bonuses, any whatever, it's $100 million, right? Now, when can they get out of this contract, and how much would they have owed Kirk Cousins at that point in time? Well, we have it here, 2027, after the third year of this contract. So 3 years of this contract, $135 million would have been paid out. If we do the math there, that's about 43-ish million, which would put him where in his comp, right? It's right under Mahomes, because Mahomes, as you see here, 45 million right there for Mahomes. Allegedly, they're trying to renegotiate that deal, but we shall see. But in regards to, annual adjusted value, this here, the 43 and change would have him right below Patrick Mahomes and probably right above Josh Allen. So this would probably be the order when it comes to actual paid out bread. Now, if you're Dak Prescott, you're kind of upset because you could argue that you're better than Kirk Cousins. If you're Josh Allen, you signed that contract early. You've now been on the cover of Madden. You've now have had really good performances in the playoffs. You've also tricked off a few. But if you're Josh Allen, you could argue that you're better than Kirk Cousins, or more important to the Buffalo Bills than Kirk Cousins is to the Atlanta Falcons. So it might be time for him to ask to renegotiate, because he should be getting more money than Kirk Cousins, in my opinion. But Kirk Cousins keeps killing it at the bank. Now, Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be next up. And if Trevor Lawrence follows the same mold of, well, we're going to do the standard contract, we're not going to do the nasty man fully guaranteed contract, and Kirk Cousins has even fallen back to where he can no longer get fully guaranteed money. He's kind of getting in the mold of getting contracts like everyone else. So the goal now is to get more than the last guy. And the last guy to get paid was Joe Burrow. The last guy to get paid was Joe Burrow at $275 with an average of $55 million. But again, is it really that number? Let's see. Is there any language here that lets us know that there's a potential out? Yes, there is. You see it here. It's a 5-year deal, $275 million deal, right? Now, when can the Bengals potentially get out? After 2028. 5 years, $219 million. So again, everyone's thinking 5 years, 275. That's the one that gets headlines. That's the one that makes him the most highest paid QB, et cetera, et cetera. But the real bread is 5 years, 219. That's still less than Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson got 5 years, 239. All guaranteed. And that's why that contract was threatening to break the system, because Deshaun Watson, even with subpar play last year and being suspended and only getting paid for one game contractually, that the first year with the Browns, is still making more money than Joe Burrow. Is Nasty Man still making more money than Justin Herbert? Let's see. When can the Chargers get out? Oh, the Chargers got him locked in for a 6th year. So again, what was reported? 5 years, 262 and a half. What's the real number? 6 years, because this was an extension of his rookie deal, a 6-year deal, and $245 million. So again, the Browns are paying 5 years, $239 million for Deshaun Watson. The Chargers are on the hook for 6 years for Justin Herbert. And if they get to that 6-year mark with him, they would have had to pay him over $245 million. So as much as people want to go crazy about the Deshaun Watson contract, would you rather have to pay the remaining years of that Deshaun Watson nasty man contract, or the remaining years with your man's Jim Harbaugh through 2029, 6 years, 245, almost $246 million? I think I'd rather be the Browns. The one contract that I think has gone under the radar and no one is kind of paying attention to is the Josh Jacobs one from the Packers. Josh Jacobs gets a 4-year deal, $48 million. Now, again, we know that's not the information to pay attention to. What does the contract actually say? Look at this contract. It is a 1-year deal. They can get out after 1 year of Josh Jacobs. So this contract is really a 1-year deal at $14.8 million. So again, they announced the big deal, 4 years, 48, which again, we could do that math. That's $12 million a year. But in actuality, when you look at the out, this is essentially a 1-year deal with 3 team options. The other years are just team options. Okay. 1 year is guaranteed between the rest of them, between Jacobs and the Packers. 2025, 1 year, $14.8 million. All the rest of this is essentially team options. Now, where does that 14.8 fit amongst the other running backs? That would make him the 3rd highest paid running back in the league. Okay. So he foregoes the longevity just to get the monetary value of I'm the 3rd highest paid running back in my position. Okay. I'm the 3rd highest paid at what I do, as opposed to going and taking a Saquon deal where it's not that. Because this is more money than Saquon. Because Saquon is a 2-year deal at 26. That's 13 mil. So he gets to one-up Saquon. They were both on the tag. He gets to one-up him. But Saquon's locked in for 2 years, where Josh Jacobs, if he cashes out. Now, I wouldn't recommend this if I'm him because of the lack of support for this position being monetized down the road. But if he were to ball out this year, there's a scenario where they could renegotiate this contract, or he could force a trade or hold out, because he's going to get 14.8, damn near 15 million this year. Is that even more than McCaffrey? Let's see. Where's the funny money in McCaffrey's contract? Remember, this is the Carolina contract. There's no opt-out because this is still the rookie deal, right? This is still the rookie deal. So he's still on his rookie deal. So he's locked in. So he's going to get about 15, 16. Okay, he's getting about 16 mil. So his number is accurate. He's getting 16 mil. And Alvin Kamara, where's the out here? Okay, so they must have picked up the option on Kamara, because they could have gotten out of this contract, but they're not going to do that because Kamara is still good. And they're only, look at the cheapness of this year for Alvin Kamara. Now, if he gets to next year, this contract probably tells me, the way that this is structured, that he's probably not going to get that picked up next year. This is a big number for him. And look at the cap hit. The cap hit would have been more this year, and the dead cap would have been more. But next year, the cap hit's even higher, but the dead cap is less. That deal was structured with that in mind. If he makes it this far, we might as well ride it out to the last year of the deal when he's 30 years old, and we're going to have to pay him $22 million. No running back is going to be making $22 million in 2025. Kamara will not see this contract. He will not see this through. I would be absolutely stunned if Kamara gets to see this contract through. Let's look at other running backs. Other running backs have been getting to a bag. DeAndre Swift goes to the Bears, 3 years, $24 million. What's the actual money? The actual money is 2 years, $16.5 million. So a little bit over $8 million a year for DeAndre Swift. So again, reported 3 years, 24. In actuality, the Bears could get out of it after the second year, and they only owe him $16.5 million. Who else? Where's Tony Pollard? There's Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard went to the Titans to replace Derrick Henry. Reported deal, 3 years, $27.75 million. In actuality, 2 years, $14.5 million. So essentially, him and DeAndre Swift got the same deal. DeAndre Swift was not on a franchise tag last year. Tony Pollard was. So Tony Pollard, in essence, takes a hit. He takes a loss financially because he was making more money on the tag. But because of the market and because of the diminished value in the position, he gets 2 years, $14.5 million for a rebuilding Tennessee Titan team. What about Derrick Henry, the one that left Tennessee to open up a spot for Tony Pollard? What is the deal? 2 years, $16 million, right? What is it in actuality? It's a 1 year deal. 1 year deal at $9 million. The Ravens can get out of it next year. Okay? So, King Henry, who was making some really good money prior to this, did he have the other contract? The first contract? Yeah, he was getting $12.5 million, then $10 million. Then I believe he was on the rookie deal after that. Yeah, he was on a rookie deal. Then he got the franchise tag. They got him to $10 million. And then he signed a 4-year, $50 million contract. But in actuality, the guarantees was about in the 25-30 range. And now he slides over to Baltimore for a 1-year cash out deal, $9 million. So more than Tony Pollard, more than DeAndre Swift, but not as much as Josh Jacobs and not as much as Saquon Barkley. And you can make an argument that Derrick Henry is better than both of them. So again, this system of how to pay running backs and how to maneuver and short-term deals over long-term deals, even though you're announcing long-term deals, when you look at the actual money, the market itself just doesn't make any sense for running backs. You might be asking, well, where was the money spent in free agency if we know for sure it wasn't with running backs? Well, the defensive linemen came up in a major way, and I think this is one of the rare times where the league in itself gets it right, because the trenches is where the game is won in actuality. Defensive lines, offensive lines, those are the ones that actually get to earn their keep, and they are treated as such across the league. So defensive linemen got paid. Chris Jones bet on himself, and he cashed out. Allegedly 5 years, 158 and change. What's the actual money? The actual money, 3 years. They can get out 3 years, $95 million. It's about what, $31-ish million per year for a guy that was not making that prior to that, right? Let's see. 19 million, 20 million, 16 million. And when he came into the league, 4 years, 6 million. So this is the culmination of being him for all this time. 3 years, $95 million, okay? And you see how this deal is structured. It's a very low base salary this upcoming season. But after that, then they get to it, okay? 13, 19, the cap hit goes crazy. 34, 41, 7.3 this year. Him and Mahomes structuring deals that are cap friendly for them this year to help improve the roster. And they did that by signing Hollywood Brown. Problematic. But Mahomes is Jordan. He'll still find a way. But in actuality, look, $95 million, 60 at signing. This is a phenomenal contract if you're a defensive lineman. But he's not the only one that got paid. Who else got paid? Christian Wilkins goes to the Las Vegas Raiders, 4 years, $110 million. But what's the actual numbers? When can they get out of this contract? The third year, 3 years, $84 million. So just under Chris Jones. Chris Jones out here at 3 years, $93-ish million, $95-ish million. 3 years, 84 for Christian Wilkins. Okay, that's the real number. 4 years, 110. We don't look at that no more. What's the real number? The real number, 3 years, 84. He's not the only one to get paid. The defensive linemen are getting paid. Justin Matabuke, the Ravens bring him back. 4 years, $98 million. What's the real number? The real number, 3 years, $75.5 million. So under Christian Wilkins. So again, impressive numbers being put up. This is way more than running backs. This is way more than some receivers. Okay, have you seen Mike Evans' contract? Let's go to Mike Evans' contract. Mike Evans' contract for a guy of his caliber. Again, the reported deal, 2 years, 41. Okay, what's the actual number? This is a 1 year deal. A 1 year deal, but it's $29 million. So basically 30 M's, what will likely be, potentially be, the last year in Tampa Bay for Mike Evans. Okay? Because this second year is essentially a team option, right? Because it's not guaranteed to the player. 1 year, $29 million. Now, where would that put him if this were an actual contract? Well, that would make him the second highest paid receiver in the league, right after Tyreek Hill and right before Devontae Adams. The problem is, being going to what Devontae Adams is doing, his money is guaranteed for a wee bit longer, I believe. Yeah, 5 years, 140. It's really 3 years, 67. Okay, so now let's do the math on that. What's that, 22-ish million? So average-wise, Mike Evans is smoking them off a 1 year deal. And that's why all this stuff comes down to what matters most for you, the player, you, the agent, you, the media member, but ultimately you, the fan. When you're getting this information and you're criticizing players and criticizing what teams are doing, understand that this is all cap manipulation. This is all scheming the money. This is a bunch of funny money. All this money that we've talked about, this money is funny. There's $98 million being reported here when he's actually most likely only going to get 75. So what happened to the other 23 million? It's funny money. Okay? So I think that's the biggest lesson to take away is that don't fall for what these agents, these media members are all putting out there, because we are living in a time where Darnell Mooney can make more guaranteed money than Saquon Barkley. And that, to me, should tell you everything you need to know about not only the NFL and what they're able to get away with, but also the NFLPA and their lack of doing anything to help that. Because that should not be a thing. There is no way on this planet where Darnell Mooney should be making more guaranteed money than Saquon Barkley. But yet here we are.